Good morning. This is the June Post Board meeting update. I hope everyone's having a wonderful summer. We had a great summer school. Appreciate all those kids that attended summer school, and we have really enjoyed having our young athletes on our campus this week, and appreciate all those adults and individuals who have helped those kids have a wonderful experience as we wrap up our final day. We had a great board meeting. We reviewed a few things, so we'll just highlight a couple things real quick. With the board strategic plan belief that we reviewed was we believe learning can occur across many settings and not just in the classroom, which is what we've seen this week. Student ownership and engagement in their education is essential to their academic and personal excellence, personal achievement. The board norm that was reviewed is that once the decision is made by the board, we will communicate the board's decision with support as a unified group. We just moving along real quick. The board just updated on just briefly on Senate Bill 3. I know I've talked about that a little bit in these updates. Senate Bill 3, the most recent update that we have on Senate Bill 3 is that on July 29th, we should expect a court ruling from the Cole County judge in Cole County. Regardless of the outcome of that hearing, what I'm told is that we just need a motion to be made, a decision to be made, so that more than likely or not, it's going to be appealed either way. So we fully anticipate this going to the Supreme Court. So we're glad that there's a court date because this will get the process going and moving along. Again, looking at the constitutionality of that law and how it's being implemented. How Senate Bill 3 was passed, and so we'll see how that plays out in court. We're keeping our eyes closely on that as we, in our district, are concerned about the potential ramifications for public school, for our kids, and for kids around the state. So eyes will be on that. We provided our youth sports director, Trent Oxenrider, provided an update on youth sports programming. Our programs are just really robust with a lot of participation. As we've seen this week, we've had all-time numbers. I think in every program, things have really gone well and increased. We continue to provide good services. We talked a little bit about youth soccer, which I know I've mentioned on here before, beginning next spring of, I guess it'll be 27. So we're continuing to look on how to refine youth sports programming to not only have offerings for kids, but also making sure that that experience is providing just what it needs to provide for them so that they are athletic and engaged and preparing for middle school and then ultimately high school sports. So appreciate Trent and his leadership in all that. And so that was presented. The other things that were presented was kind of a really big business night. We did do an update and provide a review of our spring sports programs. We appreciate those reports that were provided and all that went down this last spring on our fields. And just appreciate all the successes and all the time and energy spent with our kids. The board approved our employee manual and our student handbook. So those are prepared now. They just, for your information, all of our handbooks, including our employee handbooks, are provided to us through Ed Council, which is our attorneys. So they review all of our board policies and they align all of our board policies and state statute to what's in the handbook. So while there's a lot of administrative things that happen in the handbook, all things that are related to kind of compliance and laws are legally reviewed by our attorneys, so that we go through that process every year. And so those have been legally reviewed and now are approved by the board and will be executed for this next school year. We spent a lot of time on the proposed budget, which the board did approve. The budget, just for your information, it is state law. It is law that every June the board adopts a budget for the next fiscal year. The budget is a working document and is a draft that can be edited, modified, and amended at any point throughout the school year. However, by law, you're required to at least have a budget going into the next school year, which we do. We've put a lot of work and effort and energy into that. I'll give a big shout out to Liz Smith, who really has supported that effort in helping analyze the numbers and compile the reports and really be a support to me and to the district in making sure that our finances are ready to present to the board and that we're making sound decision making as we're making decisions. As the chief financial officer of the district, it's my responsibility to ensure that we're being good stewards. So we're keeping our eyes on. There's kind of two narratives that are happening right now that you could go in two directions. The state, we know that there's inadequate funding at the state level. That the next year or two will be there'll be some state shortfalls as the governor um, tries to right size the budget because of some shortfalls. So we know for the next 2 years we're going to have some declining revenues. Um, so you could be really doom and gloom and really, kind of do that chicken little, the sky is falling thing. The other way to look at it is we just have money, we're going to spend everything we have. And everything's roses and rainbows, and we're going to just spend and not really care about it, not really listen. That is not the right approach. So we spent a time last night kind of walking them through our story, our financial scenario, our financial situation, and what a potential decline in state aid will look like. We anticipate around $530,000 in state aid being reduced from the budget for next year, and around $200,000 reduced from the federal part of the budget. We're keeping our eyes close, just so you know, our eyes close on local revenues. The local revenues make up about 78% of our entire budget. There are many other districts who don't have the commercial and the resorts and the things that we have in our area, where their local might be 14%, where their state aid might be close to 80%. So any withholdings or declines in state revenue are going to have a much more significant impact for school districts, maybe like Spokane and others that don't have what we have in the Reed Springs School District. However, we do recognize that that is a significant amount of money, as we for sure want to continue to be strategic and move in the right direction financially. So we spent time yesterday just walking through the budget. All that information is always posted online and helping them understand how we're making those projections. We are able to utilize our financial tools to make projections, long range projections beyond next year, 3 to 6 years out, to be able to see how decisions today impact tomorrow. And so we were able to make really good salary increases for all of our staff. Those are all built in, as well as projects and things we're doing to implement the strategic plan. So the board approved that, a balanced budget. We won't be deficit spending necessarily. We're making some restrictions. We're also looking at how do we ensure to be able to take care of our folks and take care of programming in the years to come. So we had a really rich and healthy conversation centered around that. It'll be interesting to see how the next couple of years play out at the state and federal levels, because our budget projections are built around having a decrease in revenues, and then no increase over the next couple of years. We would ask that any state representatives that they take in consideration when they're looking at changing property tax and impacting property tax, they really take a consideration to what that would mean for our students and how that would impact schools around our area. Any changes in Senate Bill 3, for example, that would freeze all property tax and give us no additional revenues, would cause some pretty significant issues for schools, for fire departments, for other taxing jurisdictions, other taxing entities. And so if you know of a legislator, if you know anybody, I know many of you do as well as I, that we advocate for the protection of our local revenues so that we can continue to provide good service for our students and for our other government or community resources, such as things that happen within our county to bless our citizens. There's a balance there, right? And I will say, just for clarity purposes, the senior tax relief that was passed a couple of years ago is set in stone. That is not going away. That has nothing to do with any of the conversations that we've had over the past. But again, the board approved our budget, so we're ready to go on that. I'm sure there'll be some amendments that we'll make throughout the year as we adjust and as we analyze revenues and expenditures to go. The final thing that I want to share in my last couple minutes is that we, as you know, as part of strategy 3 of our strategic plan, strategy 4 of our strategic plan, we are working on how to continue to provide supports for students with behavioral and social emotional needs. And one of those action items is specifically to address, I'll say this now, an alternative way of approaching the education of our kids. We have talked about this. I've shared that we've The board has approved the hiring of a director for that program. For a non-traditional learning environment, this is the key and primary reason we are moving central office out of the high school. It is one of those projects that I'm not really super excited about. Quite frankly, my office and our office here works well, and it's really nice being attached to the high school for many reasons for a superintendent and for a dad. However, um, our strategic plan is designed about it has a specific action step of providing an alternative learning experience. So you might again ask, why do it at the high school? And if you look at how programming could work and consider how programming could work for our kiddos, to have kids here in our high school that can, if they're on a long-term suspension, if they need additional learning tracks, if they're in an alternative learning type of environment, we can integrate them back into the high school seamlessly because the high school is right here. We can get them over to the Career Center much more easily because the Career Center is right here. There's really truly no better spot than having it here. So as our team, our board, our facilities master planning team, our administration, as our team worked through this, as well as a team, we had a team made up of teachers and staff members that explored different learning environments like this across the state. And the recommendation was to put it here at the high school. So that decision was not made in isolation. It is going to be a true blessing to be able to serve kids. The other thing that we felt strongly about is helping within this program, providing a program that can support the needs of sending schools to follow a similar model and approach that we use at TRCC that would allow students to come. We would provide a high quality programming for students that needed that other environment. And so we, over the course of the next year, will continue to develop that. So having said all that, we really don't want this facility to seem like a traditional alternative learning center. We want students who are coming here to feel like they are getting an opportunity to change their lives, to get on a new track, if you will, and to have just a new pathway. And we felt like keeping it called alternative school has a negative connotation. And so we want to change that. And so we also want it to be something that our entire region can latch onto as we're opening this up as a sending school model. And so the board last night approved naming this new non-traditional learning environment Table Rock Achievement Center. Track, we felt like track was a good way to help kids understand that we're putting them on a new track. We're putting them on a new pathway, if you will, to future success in learning. So the Table Rock Achievement Center is a new official name approved by the board. The program, again, won't happen until we're out of here, which should happen. Our construction crew has to, I think, February 1, somewhere right around early February is kind of the time frame. When that facility will get done, then we'll get our construction crew, our kiddos over here helping remodel the facility here and getting prepped and ready for 2027, 28 school year to begin Table Rock Achievement Center with our students. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be impactful. We're really excited about what this will mean for our kids. That was our board meeting. Again, I hope everybody has a wonderful summer. Keep enjoying family time. School will be here before you know it. We'll be ready for a wonderful 26-27 school year. Take care.